last question, if you have any though, so feel free to step in. My last question is, if your wife can see this, if she can watch these, what would you like to tell your wife and your kids?
Hello and welcome to True Crime Rocket Science, the most authentic voice in true crime. In this episode, we're going to look at a killer look that Chris Watts gives right at the end of his 7-minute sermon on the porch. There is actually 15 minutes of footage here, but we're going to look at the very last moment at about 7 minutes 20 seconds of the sermon on the porch. So I'm going to play you both the audio and video, and what I want you to notice is what he's saying and then what it builds up to just as it sort of releases Chris Watts from the interview. Okay. Now, what I think is very interesting with this is it's almost a similar scenario to a video I made quite a long time ago called Another Slip of the Tongue That We All Missed. And that was a question that was asked right at the end of the second 8-minute footage where Chris Watts was standing on the driveway. And I think they asked him to describe or talk about the fact that his wife was pregnant. And then he basically kind of cut off the interviewer. But that is something that I discussed in another episode. I'll put a link in the description so you can watch that one if you haven't already. But what is interesting in both of them is that they happen right at the very end as you're about to kind of finish watching, stop focusing. That is when it actually happens. Okay. So before we get to it, it's about, as I say, about 35 seconds or so. If you haven't subscribed yet to the channel, please do. Like, share, leave a comment, and let's get started. So what we're going to do here is we're going to play the part of the interview that I want you to focus on, and we're going to just play it without the sound, and I want you to focus on the micro expressions, and then we'll get to the context of what he's saying. We're going to play it then again even slower to really get a handle on the micro expressions. Well, let's look at it here. So you can see swaying, there's a tongue flick over there. Some of the blinking is slower than you'd expected, which might indicate blocking out. It looks like he's trying not to smile. Look at how he's swaying. And at this point, he's been asked to address Shanann. You know, if Shanann is listening, he must now address her, right? Or address the person that has taken Shanann. And so who is he actually addressing here? In a weird way, he's actually looking at himself in the mirror. And he ends it off with that weird thing where he bites his lower lip, which is also the same way that he starts it off, right? So now we're going to watch the exact same thing again, but at half speed. So you see it starts off with him biting his lip, where he basically has just said that the neighbors didn't see anything. And he's now coming to the end of everything, which is why he's also about to relax. And I was asked to address Shanann. And he says, Shanann, Bella, you know, wherever you are, if somebody's taken you, please come back, kind of thing. And he's essentially at this point, he's kind of looking at himself in the mirror because he knows what he's saying isn't true, right? And he does that one little look away there, which is almost just to break eye contact to give himself a bit of relief. But the key part is right here at the end where the guy says, it's the last question, thank you. And look at what he does right at the end. He's done now, bites his lip. The guy says, okay, thank you, you're done. He looks towards him, gives that one of those slow blinks. He says, okay, done. And then look at that look there, right there. Now, one thing that is out of view, because this particular video is cropped, what is out of view is Chris Watts basically looks away. He's obviously going into memory at this point. He's got that nervous look that he usually has. He's biting the lower lip. He's looking to his left. And then what you can just almost not see, you can sort of see it in the original video, which I'll also put in the description. And it's right in the last second. Chris Watts raises his hand, almost the back of his hand, and almost seems to scratch or touch his throat. And I believe he's doing that out of sympathy, a kind of a role-playing thing where he's thinking about what he's just done. He's thinking about the injuries that he's done to Shanann. He's remembering. And what is quite incredible is, although he's just been on camera, the moment that he's sort of released, he immediately goes back to there in his mind. And that is the source, that is the reason for this killer look. Now let's play the whole thing again with the audio present.
And my last question, if you have any though, so feel free to step in. My last question is, if your wife can see this, if she can watch these, what would you like to tell your wife and your kids?
Shanann, Bella, Celeste, if you're out there, just come back. Like, if somebody has her, just please bring her back. I need to see everybody. I need to see everybody again. This house is not complete without anybody here. Please bring her back.
That's it. I can take that mic off you.
Now, I think quite a few underlying dynamics are going on, and it's probably important to sketch out the context. So when you hear the audio, you hear the dogs barking, and Chris Watts is probably quite aware of that. He's probably either thinking, of what he did or should have done, or he's amused by it. He's got a cocky sense that they're not going to find anything. And, because I've definitely made a good cleanup there. What is very interesting in the Patrick Frazee case is you had a situation where they didn't find Patrick Frazee's DNA, right? And the counter-argument to all of that was, did that mean he wasn't there? But then they didn't find Crystal Kenny's DNA either, the mistress who cleaned up the murder scene. And so what does that prove? It proves that you can very effectively clean up a crime scene, that DNA is not going to show up, and also odors are not going to show up in terms of the dogs. The other thing that he's probably thinking about is, what is Nicole Kessinger thinking? He's wondering, what are other people going to be thinking about what I'm saying? And I think he can't get away from, someone was saying, when you tell a lie, you're only using a certain part of the brain. But I think what people don't realize is we are wired to tell the truth. So when we don't say something, we give ourselves away. There are little things, little cues and so on that give ourselves away, because we are actually trying to be congruent human beings. And subconsciously, we are trying to be congruent with reality, even though consciously we may be deliberately trying to mislead or obfuscate. So he probably had a lot on his mind, but I think that very last look where he lifts up his hand, he's sympathizing, he's thinking about what he actually did and where his family actually are. It's kind of a private moment he thinks he has to himself, even though he's actually still on camera at that point. What I want to also just mention is, there was a comment not that long ago where someone said, what are those arrows pointing to in some of the pictures? And I've kind of put together a collection of some of those images. Now, a lot of these images came from Crime Rocket blog posts, and I had a lot of analysis there and discussion there. And if you like, I can put some of those discussions back on YouTube and just explain to you what I was trying to get at with these arrows. So if you'd like me to do that, I can do that as part of dealing with your best questions. So let me know. I've also got another killer look that I want to bring your attention to. So watch this space for further details. Thank you for listening, and I'll see you guys next time.